मतलब कि इमरजेंसी की सूरत हाल है हॉस्पिटल के अंदर।
It's D-Day for Operation Sindoor. Indian Armed Forces hit terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir on Wednesday. From where the terrorist attacks against India were planned, conceived, directed on multiple occasions. India struck 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Kashmir in a focused measure in non-escalatory manner, said Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. Let me play out the bites of 2 women officers and Vikram Misri and Rajnath Singh to encapsulate what happened during the day, and then I will take you to the backstory of this operation.
Over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has systematically built terror infrastructure. It is a complex web of recruitment and indoctrination centers, training areas for initial and refresher courses, and launch pads for handlers. These camps are located both in Pakistan as well as Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir areas. Some of the well-known training camps are located, as you can see on the screen. They are distributed from Savai Nala in the north, counting to approximately 21, ending at Bhagalpur to the south. Selection of these targets for Operation Sindoor was based on credible intelligence inputs and role of these facilities in perpetrating the terror activities. The locations were so selected to avoid damage to civilian infrastructures and loss of any civilian lives.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया। पाकिस्तान में पिछले 3 दशकों से टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। इसमें रिक्रूटमेंट, इंडॉक्ट्रिनेशन सेंटर्स, ट्रेनिंग एरियाज व लॉन्च पैड शामिल थे, जो पाकिस्तान और पाक अधिकृत जम्मू कश्मीर POJK दोनों में फैले हैं।
The latest attack in Pahalgam has understandably generated deep anger in Jammu and Kashmir and in other parts of India. Following the attacks, the government of India naturally responded with a set of initial measures relating to our engagement with Pakistan. You're all aware of the decisions that were announced on the 23rd of April. However, it was deemed essential that the perpetrators and planners of the 22nd April attack be brought to justice. Despite a fortnight having passed since the attacks, there has been no demonstrable step from Pakistan to take action against the terrorist infrastructure on its territory or on territory under its control. Instead, all it has indulged in are denials and allegations.
कल रात हमारी भारतीय सेनाओं ने अपने अद्भुत शौर्य और पराक्रम का परिचय देते हुए एक नया इतिहास रच दिया है। साथियों, भारत की सेना ने सटीकता, सतर्कता और संवेदनशीलता के साथ कार्रवाई की है। हमने जो लक्ष्य तय किए थे, उन्हें ठीक समय तय योजना के अनुसार सटीकता से उन्होंने ध्वस्त किया है और किसी भी नागरिक ठिकाने, सिविलियन पॉपुलेशन को जरा भी प्रभावित न होने देने की संवेदनशीलता भी हमारी सेना ने दिखाई है। मित्रों, हमने हनुमान जी के उस आदर्श का पालन किया है जो उन्होंने अशोक वाटिका उजाड़ते समय किया था। जिन मोहि मारा तिन मोहि मारे। हमने केवल उन्हीं को मारा जिन्होंने हमारे मासूमों को मारा।
Very aptly put by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. But let me go back to the story. The 9 Pak terror hubs were busted. Let me take you through them. The Shawal Nala camp, Muzaffarabad, Lashkar terrorists were behind the Sonmarg and Gulmarg and Pahalgam attacks. They were trained here. The Sayyidana Bilal camp, Muzaffarabad, Jaish-e-Mohammed camp for weapons and jungle warfare training. Kotli camp, Gurpur, Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists involved in 23 attack on pilgrims trained here. Barnama camp, Bhimbe, hub for training in arms, IEDs and jungle warfare. Kotli Abbas, LET training camp to train 15 terrorists at a time. Sarajul camp, Sialkot, terrorists behind killing of 4 police personnel in March 2025 trained here. Memuna Zoya camp, Sialkot, Hizbul camp where Pathankot air-base attack of 17 was planned. Markaz Taiba, Muridke, terrorist camp at 2611, Mumbai plotter including Adbal Kasab and David Coleman Headley trained. Markaz Subhan Allah, Bhavalpur, recruitment and training center for Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists. Now let me share some insight of the operation. India struck terror camp deep inside Pak territory. Coordinated strikes by armed forces. Terror camps targeted in Punjab also. The camps included JEM and Lashkar-e-Taiba. Operation Sindoor brought planners of Pahalgam terror attack to justice. India's response was measured, non-escalatory, proportionate and responsible. No Pakistani military facilities were targeted. Pakistan is in a denial mode. Claimed civilians targeted, 24 missiles deployed via Rafale jets and loitering munition. So, how has Operation Sindoor transformed India's approach towards Pakistan-based terrorism? We have done Uri, we have done Balakot, but this is also different. It tells us that the government will respond strongly to terrorism regardless of consequences. It also tells us that the low-level military action like 16 and 19 not the preferred response now. India will no longer accept distinction between terrorism and military aggression. India has called Pakistan's nuclear bluff. Pak cannot depend on nuke threats to deter conventional attacks in response to terror. India has clear edge over Pak in conventional war. Operation Sindoor dents Pakistan's ability to hide behind on the issue of lack of evidence. And Delhi no longer feels the need to furnish reams of evidence to the global community. Why should it? Onus on Pakistan to ensure that there is no terrorist attack if it seeks to prevent a military conflict. Operation Sindoor reinstates deterrence against terrorism, which was established by 2019 Balakot attacks. And the whole India-Pakistan relationship is history, no scope for dialogue at present. Let me introduce my guest in studio. I am joined by Aditya Rajkol, Executive Director, Strategic Affairs, National Security, Ambassador G. Parthasarathi, former Indian High Commissioner, Pakistan. Thank you very much, sir. Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, former GOC 15 Corps. Thank you very much, sir, for making time. Squadron Leader Dipti Kalra. Thank you, madam. And Vice Admiral Anil K. Chawla, former Flag Officer, Commanding-in-Chief, Southern Naval Command and Distinguished Fellow. Thank you so much, sir, for making time. But let me straight away go to Ambassador Parthasarathi. So your opening response and what should we expect from Pakistan?
Well, let me say, I have dealt with Pakistan since my days in the army in the 1960s and spent 5 years in Pakistan. And therefore, one finds that the more things change, the more they're the same. Let the reality after we knocked Pakistan into two is that West Pakistan would like to be a co-equal of India representing the Islamic world. I mean, this is their ambition. And for that purpose, it builds up nuclear weapons. It doesn't believe in sovereign equality with India. Pakistan seeks the impossible, parity with India. And that has what has got themselves into trouble. I recall in my days when I was in Pakistan, in Kargil, they honestly believed that Indian troops could not climb up the Himalayan mountains and knock them out. And we did it. So there is this weird belief in Pakistan that somehow or the other, the Hindus are not what they call as a martial class. This is, sorry to say it, and for this reason, we have now, with the passage of time, convinced them that any hopes they may have of any minority community, they are Indians first. So this is the root cause of their problem. And they're willing to use anything to seek that parity. They do not understand the difference between parity and sovereign equality. And they have not learned any lessons after they lost half their country. So this will continue, and their strategy has really been low-cost terrorism. That is, go ahead with terrorism to undermine India, while threatening India with nuclear weapons if they dare to go against them. I think that bluff has been called recently. We've gone in, and this business of that they believe that they can subject us to nuclear blackmail, despite being economically backward, internationally backward, and having ruined their names in Asia, they completely undermined the SAARC organization. So it is a larger issue. It is an issue that they believe that they are the number one and the inheritors of the Mughal rule. And I think secular India has taught them a lesson. And we should move ahead this process that we have done, step by step. And I see General Hasnain there having a smile. So, a good friend. The fact of the matter is that we will be able to deal with this relationship now much more easily, because the Western world at large have got disillusion going with them.
Okay.
China may give them aid, but that aid is not really aid. It goes back to China.
Okay, but sir, this also brings me to the issue, because you are saying that, there are certain fundamentals of Pakistan which remains the change. I think the most important aspect which I take from the answer you gave me is the more things change, more they remain the same. General Hasnain, what sort of response are we should prepare itself R2? Because I think 2 hours back, the armed forces have been in Pakistan told to take equivalent measure, corresponding measure. I think that's the word they use, sir.
Karthikeya, thank you first of all for inviting me for your program. I will not delve into any background. Let me dive straight into the situation as it is at the moment. I think first of all, the Operation Sindoor is way beyond what happened at Balakot. It's an exponential increase in our overall capability, demonstration of that capability in the strike on these 9 terrorist bases which have been carried out. I think the message has gone home to Pakistan clearly, and it should, if it is not, then it needs to be realized by them. We have hit even 3 bases, Sialkot, Bahawalpur, Muridke, which are very close to their own formation headquarters. We have developed the capability since 2020 of precision-guided munitions which can actually target any location inside Pakistan, and even to the extent of targeting personalities if need be. This is something almost on the lines of what Israeli capability is today. Having said that, would Pakistan in its current state, with the 24th time that it is going to the IMF and the state of economy that it is in at the moment, with all these internal security problems, would it want to escalate this situation further? Because if it does, then it's got 2 options. Either it does it conventionally, in which case I feel that it will be a demonstration, a hoax of some kind of a demonstration somewhere of inconsequential kind of effects, and that will be called as a response. But on the other hand, they have got the second option of a subconventional option which can take place later in a window of the next 6 months, 9 months, or whatever it is. I think Pakistan will probably choose to do that option, because that is likely to give them a better dividend for the future and some time, breathing time, to be able to think through this entire situation. My last point on this, with a chief like Asim Munir, anything can be expected. Something completely irrational can be expected, because otherwise a rational army and a national army chief under these circumstances would definitely not respond conventionally.
Okay. Admiral Chawla, do you think that picture abhi baki hai?
Yes, absolutely. I think picture ये वाला episode अभी शुरू हुआ है. The picture has been going on for a long time, and there is much that lies ahead. And I think the first thing is that while we have done very well, we should not be complacent. There is going to be some sort of a strike back. So I think the government is already aware of this, and the forces are also aware of this. You need to be alert. And as General Hasnan mentioned, some sort of retaliation will happen somewhere. In what form or shape it happens, probably the people in power know better. But the fact is that all of us need to be alert and aware and not let complacency set in. And this has been a very successful strike. And I think we should not now, as they say, rest on your laurels. We should now look ahead as to what lies ahead. So there is, I think, a considerable amount of things that lie ahead, not just in the short term, but in the long term. Particularly, I think, with the Indus Water Treaty having been revoked by India, which I think is going to be like a python squeezing its prey slowly, but very effectively.
I'm also joined by Squadron Leader Deepti Kala. There is one thing common, though there is a difference in scale, and I completely agree with General Hassan between Balakot and this operation. But pivotal role was played by Air Force in both the operations. The use of Air Force in Indian warfare against terrorism seems to be expanding. And this time we don't have the data, and I don't want to speculate till government gives us as to how many planes and how the entire theatre was weaponized. But a person who has served in the force, Air Force, how do you see this expanding role of Air Force, whereby the larger imagination in this subcontinent was only dominated or was only seen in the context of army, not even navy, army centric?
Yeah. So Kartikeya, first of all, thank you for having me here. See, having served the Indian Air Force, we are the third largest, right, in the global scenario. We are equipping ourselves not only in terms of weaponization. We are, having very fifth generation, sixth generation, next generation aircraft with us. We have precision guided missiles that we just used yesterday night. They are low level missiles which go mostly undetected by the enemy. We are fully equipped with the cyber advancement also. I have personally worked on systems in which the entire country, all the operations are so very well connected that it takes seconds for me to connect myself from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. We have seen this in the past when we have done a lot of strikes. I have personally, I was actively operational in the J&K flood operations. Within seconds, we can start operations, and we are always agile. The Indian Air Force, if we talk about why it is playing the major role, is because in today's era, doing the strikes is one of the easiest to do and the most effective way of neutralizing the enemy. Okay, because it is first of all, it is very difficult to analyze that when it is going to happen. Second thing, it is very fast, like, with the lightning speed the aircraft goes, and we already have enough of systems which decide the precision. So we just go, hit the target and come back. By the time enemy is even awake or even thinking about why and how it is happening or what can we do to deter it, it just happens, right? The Pakistan Information Minister, Mr. Turar, was disclaiming these strikes and was making false statements about our aircrafts have been shot down and all. I could see the terror in his voice. So I'm sure we have a long way to go. Picture 100% अभी बाकी है.
बिल्कुल, पिक्चर अभी बाकी है. ठीक, आपने सही बोला, पिक्चर अभी बाकी है, क्योंकि डिस्कशन में भी पिक्चर अभी बाकी है, क्योंकि आदित्य राज कॉल के पास नहीं पहुंचे. थैंक यू आदित्य फॉर जॉइनिंग मी, आवर एग्जीक्यूटिव एडिटर ऑफ News9. आदित्य, this question is for you. Tell me what we don't know.
Well, what we haven't been discussing till now is that how much of a damage is not the 9 attacks that have happened, is that we have entered the dominant place of Punjabi elite Pakistan army, and that is Bawalpur and Sialkot. never would have they imagined, of course, in wargaming, etc., they would have figured it out, but never would have they imagined that Bawalpur and Sialkot would be attacked in such a manner.
12th largest city, Bawalpur?
Yes, 100%. It's the epicenter of Jaish-e-Mohammed for years together. So the question right now is, how will Pakistan Army retaliate? But I'll take you 24 hours back. In the same studio, we were discussing the mock drill. We were also discussing the NOTAM that was issued. A complete diversionary tactic, which even the Pakistanis did not realize, that a NOTAM was issued, mock drill, trainings were issued. Of course, General Hasnain will speak in detail about it from the NDMA perspective also. He is one of the key advisors and key people to shape that, in the entire country. So, the reality of the matter is that Pakistan in many ways was caught unaware, and today of course is doing these PR campaigns of civilians being killed, etc., and keeping the number of the dead at 26 because 26 were killed in Pahalgam. The reality is, as per my sources in Pakistan and in Indian intelligence, more than 250 people have been killed in these 9 attacks, and I should tell you that Pakistan will retaliate. I don't think that Pakistan will wait any longer than 24 to 48 to 72 hours. And there are multiple options that Pakistan has. It does not want to go to Punjab because of the Sikh sentiment. It does not want to go to Kashmir time and again because of the local sentiment there. But 3-4 key areas that they have is Jammu, as was visible in 1965, etc. Apart from that, they have Rajasthan, they have Gujarat as well. And one of the narratives that the Pakistani ISI handles have been trying to propagate for the last few days is that India allegedly is running Baloch camps in Rajasthan and in Gujarat, and those camps need to be attacked by Pakistan. So there could be a false flag operation in some Registan or in some civilian area in Rajasthan and Gujarat to, of course, show that, Baloch camps tit for tat has been done, and,
something which Pakistan and Iran did?
Yeah, absolutely. And secondly, Gujarat is again important because, we have entered the, homeland in many ways of Asim Munir by attacking in Punjab. So he would want to do something in Gujarat to again convey a message to Prime Minister. Again repeating, what happened in Pahalgam? They spared the women, and that's why this is Operation Sindoor. Because the Indian armed forces, the Indian government took a pledge that Sindoor jo ujda hai, uska jawab denge, uska muh tod jawab denge, and that has happened. And now, of course, he would want to do the same, that convey this message to Prime Minister. And Asim Munir is a different kind, as General Hasnain also put out. Asim Munir is not like Rahil Sharif, he is not like, Bajwa and others. He is a jihadist. He is an Islamic radical jihadist in army uniform. He will take revenge, and if you read his body language, in not just in meetings, but in that speech that he made about 15 days ago or 20 days ago, it was amply clear that he was frustrated, he is not in control, and our understanding is that he is somewhere in the middle, stranded between Imran Khan and India. May 9th is close. May 9th is the anniversary of the massive embarrassment that Pakistan Army faced on the streets of Pakistan, with complete GHQ, ISI, Para, and Corps Commander, Lahore and other places were ransacked. People looted Pakistan Army in that. And he hasn't been able to come out of that trauma. So he would want to, do something out there, particularly around May 8th and May 9th, to shadow that complete embarrassment. I mean, the reality of the matter is that Pakistan cannot sustain a long war.
Is that air exercise still on? I think that was for 2 days now.
It will continue. I mean, everything from mock drill to NOTAM, whatever was issued, it is as per standard operating procedure. There are rules laid out for that. It's been issued. Exercises are happening. It will happen, very much so.
Okay. I think that's a wonderful analysis. But this issue needs to be taken to Ambassador Parthasarathy. So the question is, then how do you change the nature of the Pakistani state? There is a cost to every misadventure which Pakistan does, but if we say that Munir is a jihadist, then how do you change the character? Because Pakistani state is coterminous with the character of the Pakistani army, sir.
No, it is not. If you take recent developments, neither Nawaz Sharif nor Shehbaz Sharif or any other member of that cabinet has echoed or supported him. Let us be clear, and it suits us fine because you can keep him drawn for a pretty long time fighting his own people. And I've known the Pakistan Army people, but I cannot, I knew General Bajwa, his boss, who's a thorough, they behave like four-star generals. This fellow behaves like a street urchin. And therefore, my hunch is play him along, but keep it very clear. And the army then will become more careful that what they have just experienced is just an initial experience. And we can come back much harder, and I'm sure General Hasnain will be able to better explain that than me when when we deal with them. So Pakistan, now we can fix them right and proper. They are fighting with Afghanistan. We have the Pashtuns on our side. The Sindhis hate them. And the Baloch now is also rebelling. And I'm sure we are not totally doodh ke dhule hue and all these things. So it is something they know and recognize that is a fire that they are playing with. But a fellow like, General Munir is incorrigible. I mean, any other Pakistani four-star general is far more mature. And I have never, and General Hasnain will know as well, I have never seen a Pakistani army chief so crude, naive, and out of place. So you're dealing, and let's be clear, you're dealing with a peculiar army chief. And let's see whether this support within the army continues, because General Bajwa's people are still around, but it's a disciplined force and they're not likely to do anything. But he is something, they don't like this sort of behavior. And you'll have to face up with that. I think what we have done recently merits total compliments and praise. We have put them in their beliefs, and this particularly leadership regime. They thought, "Arey, ye ladenge kahan?" And they are paying the price. So as far as I'm concerned, play it cool. And remember, we have lots of friends. We have the Afghans, we have the Pashtuns, and you can play them back in their own game.
Okay. General Hasnain, two questions to you very quickly. Is ceasefire and LOC dead, sir? Because heavy artillery firing has taken place. People have died. I think 38 to 40 people were injured. The Governor Sinha also tweeted in morning that the people had to be shifted from the line of control and around international border. And what explains artillery to boom so hard in this area?
See, Karthikeya, the expression of frustration by the Pakistan army, in fact, the Pakistan deep state, has always been a knee-jerk reaction at the line of control. And already for the last 14 days, there was exchange of small arms fire, basically flat trajectory weapons. But obviously, we were waiting for this to happen, and I knew for sure that it would ratchet up to an exchange of artillery. They target our civilian areas almost like a strategic weapon. We don't do anything of the kind. I'm sure what the Indian Army would be planning at this time is to take out those areas where we are in complete dominant control. For example, the Neelam Valley is a typical area where this kind of a thing can take place. Portions of the Haji Pir also. So this is something, the ceasefire to my mind is not a written ceasefire, it's not an official ceasefire. It's a ceasefire, if you remember, goes back to 26th of November 2003, an agreement between two DGMOs, and reiterated on the 24th or 25th of February 2021. So it is dead and gone at the moment until there is a call again from a DGMO in the Pakistan Army. But I have a short comment to make on Aditya's excellent assessment. I agree, and I've been talking about this everywhere, that they will definitely try and project in Rajasthan, in the desert somewhere, an inconsequential area where they may show as if a terrorist camp an Indian proxy terrorist camp exists where the Malochs are being trained as such. This will be, typical fake news pattern in the same manner in which Pakistan put out fake news today about 5 Rafales having been shot in the Indian territory. Now, they are past masters at this, and they will keep doing it because they tend to do so much of fake news that they tend to start believing it themselves. This is so bad. So this is something that most likely may happen. Also, just take notice, Kartikeya, of one thing I mentioned in the beginning of my intervention. 3 locations, Bahawalpur, Sialkot and Muridke, all very closely located to important headquarters of the Pakistan various formations. Is this a sufficient message to them that if they strike a civilian area in India, inconsequential or otherwise, our next response is not going to be on a terrorist camp, is going to be up on the escalatory ladder, the next rung, which is to strike at a formation headquarters of the Pakistan Army.
Are you saying that? Are you saying that in the escalatory ladder, sir? If I heard you correctly, did I hear you correct, sir? It will be the formation headquarters of the Pakistani army.
I am saying that if Pakistan decides to escalate this whole thing and strike an Indian target, which is essentially a civilian target, you don't have terrorist bases here, a civilian target, and there are casualties of that kind anywhere, whether it be civil areas or military cantonments. The next step is an escalation from India, which will ensure that it targets military headquarters.
Okay, Admiral Chawla, do you agree with this?
I would defer as regards the army operations totally to General Hasnan, but I would also point out a couple of things that have happened for the first time, which had never happened before, particularly in the maritime domain. Firstly, it would be a surprise to most people that except during wartime, even in the most heightened of crises that have happened, apart from the wars that have happened between India and Pakistan, Pakistani merchant ships were calling at Indian ports because they carry multinational cargo, and there was no restriction on that. In fact, we used to have a special procedure to record whenever a Pakistani merchant ship came into any of our harbors. There are not too many of them, but certain precautions were required to be taken. And so for the first time, I think it's a very good step that the entire merchant traffic that was happening, limited amount between India and Pakistan, has actually been stopped. Now, this is going to have severe consequences for Pakistan because a lot of the merchant ships transited through Indian ports, and so their entire trade will take a certain amount of hit, and they will need to find alternate means for that. It doesn't affect India too much at all because there was a minimal amount of export from India. Secondly, I think the maritime dimension, I think it has been demonstrated to Pakistan because I think they are in a particularly weak footing there currently. That this could have a devastating impact because as I think was brought out earlier, they have a limited capacity for waging war, particularly in terms of their oil storage capacity, in terms of ammunition, as also the economic capacity that's been brought out. So I think this point has been brought out before also in various other operations, that should this be used, which is actually way up the escalation ladder, then the capacity of this country to fight would be seriously undermined. So I think these issues are also things that hopefully would play in their minds when they look for any sort of retaliation. And I totally agree that it would be some sort of inconsequential retaliation. They are basically information warriors. The Pakistani army and the Pakistani state are information warriors, and they're pretty good at that. So one must acknowledge they're very good at making videos, telling lies, and passing on this. So I think this is something that we need to counter.
Are you saying that they can actually stage a false flag operation in Rajasthan, Gujarat? That's what you're saying, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this could be done in many ways and under many guises. So they are pretty fertile in this field, as I said, in information warfare and in masking the truth and peddling lies. So this is where I think we have to be vigilant and ensure that we keep our eyes and ears open to prevent being taken by surprise in any of these areas.
Aditya, You spoke about the false flag operation. You spoke about the fact that we should also expect that some sort of a strike may take place. Do you think that the heavy artillery shelling which is taking place in LOC is a distraction?
It is a distraction, but one must also admit and speak about the killings that are happening at the LOC. I mean, there was small arms fire that was happening for the last 13 days. But today, look at the brutality.
They hit a Gurdwara in Poonch.
Not just a Gurdwara. I mean, Gurdwara, of course, and that should be highlighted in the global media. There's a complete, whitewashing happening in the international press. They're not reporting this. The reality of the matter, Kartike, is that more than 20 people have been killed in LOC, in Poonch itself. And at least 3 to 4 among them are Sikh community members. Gurdwara has been attacked. I mean, I have some of the videos with me where children, Sikh children, Hindu children, Muslim children are being brutally, assaulted with this artillery shell firing. I have received videos from POK residents. POK residents taking video of how the Pakistan army is firing at houses, residential, places of the communities. So the entire stretch of Poonch LOC has been vacated. People have moved to Surankot and in Jammu. And nobody seems to be bothered. I mean, the Indian media needs to speak much more about it, of how civilians are being targeted. The international media, of course, is wearing blinkers and not reporting about it. But yes, it could be a diversionary tactic to heat up the border, to continue with the RT fire in that entire area, but conduct an operation, a limited operation in some other area. I mean, last time around in 2019, you would remember near the brigade headquarters, there was a payload that was put in, and that was shown as a deterrence, a message of sorts. This time around, I think we don't have the same Pakistan Army chief. We should expect a strong response, brutality with it, and he wants to see blood. So he doesn't want to only convey a message, he wants to see blood, and that would perhaps only satisfy him at this point.
Okay, let me play out a walkthrough which our correspondent did. From the line of control, not LOC, after the shelling had taken place.
इस समय मैं मौजूद हूं रजौरी इलाके में। यहां पर पाकिस्तान की तरफ से सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया गया है और तस्वीरों में आप देखिए कि किस तरीके से रिहायशी इलाकों में पाकिस्तान ने गोले दागे हैं। यहां पर आप देख सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से भारी नुकसान जो है वो इस इलाके में हुआ है। दरअसल कल भारत ने पाकिस्तान से बदला ले लिया है। बदला है पहलगाम में मारे गए निर्दोष लोगों का, बदला है आतंकवाद जिस तरीके से पाकिस्तान यहां पर फैला रहा था। 9 जगहों पे स्ट्राइक जो है भारत ने की है। वहीं पाकिस्तान बौखला गया। पाकिस्तान की तरफ से लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर सीज फायर का उल्लंघन किया गया और साथ में आर्टिलरी के जरिए जो है रिहायशी इलाकों में गोले जो है वो दागे गए। तस्वीरों में आप देख सकते हैं कि कितना ज्यादा नुकसान यहां पर इन घरों को उठाना पड़ा है। यहां पे आप स्प्लिंटर के जो निशान है वो आप चारों तरफ देख सकते हैं। कुछ गांव वाले भी हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं, उनसे बात करेंगे। कितना नुकसान हुआ है साहब? यहाँ
नुकसान बहुत हुआ है क्योंकि पाकिस्तान ने सिविल रिहायशी एरिया को टारगेट किया है और पुंछ जोरी हाईवे को टारगेट किया है, क्योंकि फौज से पाकिस्तान लड़ नहीं सकता है, लेकिन आम सिविलियन को ये तंग करता है। जिस तरह आपने देखा होगा कई बार स्कूलों में वो टारगेट करता है, इस तरह सिविल लोगों को और खास करके हमारे पुंछ जोरी हाईवे को बाधित करने की कोशिश की गई है।
सेना के साथ खड़े,
बिल्कुल सेना के साथ खड़े हैं। हम कहते हैं कि सेना को जिस चीज की जरूरत है हम सदा उनके लिए तैयार है, खड़े हैं। हमें भी बुलाएं, हमें बॉर्डर पर लेके जाए, हम खुद लड़ेंगे।
Let me go across to squadron leader Deepthi Kala. Deepthi, last time when the Balakot took place, a lot of people, naysayers in India and the Western press, they said, where is the evidence? Pakistan also, took number of foreign journalists and took them to Balakot. But this time, India has provided the evidence. The imagery has changed. Everything is there. The documentation is there. The evidence is there. Visuals from hospitals are there. And the response from other actors are there. For example, Asar Masood, his relatives dying in one of the camps. So things have changed. This time, it has been planned in a way that people can actually see what happened.
Indeed, Kartike, I told you that Minister Turar was already talking about these images being false, these videos being false. In fact, he himself was talking to the international anchor on TV that he would go to the those places wherein the strikes have happened, and he will show the media, he'll show the global world that whatever India has been speaking of is false. We have never been the house of terrorism. India has struck the civilians. Right. So that is one of the reasons why we have taken this step this time, and a proper press conference has been taken wherein each and every detail has been told to the country that this is what has happened. These are the real images that we have. All the evidences are there. Now, in that response, what I liked about on the global forum is that every time that he was talking false of the country, the international media also stood by us that we do have proof, we do have evidences. In 2018, Donald Trump had cut the aid to Pakistan because of it housing of terrorism. In fact, around 10 days or 8 days before, Kartike, if you would look at, I've read this information somewhere, the defense minister had himself accepted that yes, we do have houses of terrorism. Our propaganda, our agenda is to have terrorism across global, in a global scenario, and have an edge over, because it has nothing. Pakistan has nothing to show. Now, when we talk about, there's one point I would like to talk about here is about the low conflict that is already going on the LOC. See, what I have personally observed is now Pakistan has to show some face to its own civilians, its own people, right? So that is one of the reasons it cannot right now, as on date, we don't know about tomorrow, but as of now, they are not doing any airstrikes to us. We are agile. But then to show them that we are doing something, they have started to initiate this low conflict. And I have seen this on social media, Pakistani people talking and praising their own army men on doing this kind of act or violating the ceasefire. So you are right, absolutely. We are agile, we are ready, and of course there will be some response to it, but then I think we are ready for everything. And intelligence is going to play the most important role here. I would request the entire countrymen to stay with the Indian Armed Forces and not focus on not leaking any kind of information to the enemy.
Absolutely.
So that, right?
Absolutely. General Hassan, let me ask this question. It's not pure military. Do you think that this entire gamut of events that has unfolded in the last 72 hours is also a result of Munir's own ambition to stay a little longer than he should in Pakistan Army? Is that play an important part, sir?
Absolutely, Kartikeya. What has not come out is the fact that Munir is an isolated man within his own service, within his own army. First of all, people should know that he is not from the regular army cadre. He is from an adjunct cadre, and therefore being accepted among his people, among his team itself, is a major challenge for him. This issue of the May 9th of May, which Aditya brought out, was very important. It demonstrated his lack of hold over the Pakistan army as such in that particular time. And therefore, he is trying to overcome that challenge. And in September, his term terminates. He, like any other Pakistan army chief, Bajwa also was stayed for 6 years. This, with the recent amendment, Munir can stay till 5 years, extended till 5 years. Actually, he can stay even beyond if he's got complete control over the Pakistan army. But I think somehow, somewhere, things are not very good inside the Pakistan army at the moment. Asim Munir may be trying to actually show his radical nature to a great extent to try and extend his hold over the Pakistan army. We are aware that the Pakistan army, ever since the time of General Zia, has got radicalized to a large extent, and therefore there is a tremendous support for those who are of a radical nature. Even if you remember, General Bajwa could not go beyond a point. General Bajwa was not radicalized. He was in every time in the Islamabad dialogue, General Bajwa always spoke of the need for Pakistan to find peace with India if it had to progress as a nation economically. That kind of a statement we never find from Asim Munir. Asim Munir is therefore only looking for feathering his own nest. And that absolutely, I agree with you. Beyond September, an extension is something which he is seeking.
Admiral, there is one more important aspect in this entire play. For the first time, it was reported that the Turkish warships, they were berthed near Gwadar. I mean to say, there was a lot of talk about it. Should that be taken seriously in terms of larger cooperation between Turkey and Pakistan?
You know, Turkey and Pakistan have had a historical relationship, and particularly in the defense field. So I think it's no surprise that Turkey has been more sympathetic towards Pakistan than other countries. However, Turkey itself is not a hardline Islamic state, even though the current president has a slight leaning towards that. It's a very moderate Islamic state, and it has its own delusions of getting back to the grandeur that its empire had a couple of centuries ago. So I think their ships being in Gwadar, and you know, ships cannot move like aircraft, within a couple of hours. It takes time, particularly for them to come through the Mediterranean, from the Mediterranean to this area. So I think this would have been a pre-planned trip. The fact is that I think it is the fact that they visited Gwadar is also not entirely surprising, because Pakistan is trying to bring up that port, which has not succeeded. It's in debt to China. The China-Pakistan economic corridor, China has invested $60 billion, and the fulcrum of this entire CPEC is Gwadar. But Gwadar has no traffic at all since it has been constructed. The only traffic it has is for its own construction purposes. So I think too much should not be read into that. And even if they are there, it's inconsequential as far as India is concerned. I would like to remind you that actually in 1965, the Indonesian president at that time had sent 2 warships and a submarine to Karachi to support Pakistan in their fight against India at that stage, because Sukarno and Nehru had a falling out in the late 1950s. So I happened to be the defense attaché in Indonesia, and I met one of the commanders of that ship, who was an old man then, and I asked him what did he do. He said nothing. We just went to the harbor and we sat there and we felt very foolish, and we came back after the war ended. So I think it is not even symbolic. It's just a coincidence that these ships are there.
Absolutely, but you know, Aditya, there is another aspect to it. Lot of agencies were reporting that Operation Sindoor continues. Can you put some light on it? Is Operation Sindoor active?
You know, the former army chief put a tweet which you also mentioned here. Abhi picture baki hai. And obviously I can't reveal and I can't even claim to show on the television that I know anything. This government and armed forces are not known for revealing anything, and rightly so. That's not how operations work. But I can tell you that the preparedness with which the Indian security establishment, the armed forces are presently, along with the tri-service and the intelligence agencies, is much better than 2016 and 2019. You know, there's a lot of course correction, there are a lot of learnings that have happened, and I personally, I'm glad because, I've gone all across the country from Army College in Mao to Internal Security Academy in Mount Abu, and I'm sure General Hasnain has been doing much more, 100% much more than me, and we have been speaking about information warfare, narrative, where our gaps are, where we need to fill those gaps, and I'm glad that this time, on every parameter, we have stood out and we have done the right things. I mean, look at the kind of narrative that was built up with that clip, a very powerful emotional clip that was played even before the press conference began, on the terror attacks that have happened and how India has been a victim for the last 3 decades. Then Vikram Misri, a Kashmiri Pandit, might I add, a Kashmiri holding that press conference with two, with no disrespect, junior female officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force, and they are conducting, I mean, look at the parallels. DG ISPR at that place in Pakistan is holding this propaganda press conference, and here we have two brave, bold, educated officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force conducting the press conference. And this time, we have visual proof. Now, the visual proof is of two types. One is the Pakistani public coming out with hundreds of videos and showing to the Asim Munir that here is what has happened. And instead of, immediately going to the public.
Like Osama bin Laden operation, it was reported by the people.
I mean, if the strikes have happened at 1 a.m., I would expect that the Prime Minister and the Army Chief would immediately go to either brigade headquarters or the GHQ or somewhere and hold an emergency meeting. Instead, both of them wanted their beauty sleep. They said, "Hum 10 baje subah milenge. At 10 a.m. we'll have a National Security Committee meeting." The video of that came out at 4 p.m. I mean, they're not bothered. So the thing that about Pakistan is often said कि वहाँ 1000 लोग भी अगर मर जाएं और reality में भी अगर एक terrorist attack हो जाए जिसमें 100 पाकिस्तान आर्मी के लोग मर जाएं, they don't bother. I mean, this is cannon fodder. मरते रहते हैं लोग, they don't bother. I mean, Pakistan army is more focused on their own corporate house, on their own hegemony, on their own control, which Asim Munir doesn't have. So he needs to build this image all across, and he seems to have fizzled out in this entire process. He thought Pahalgam hoga, so it will be a tough message. But it's not a tough message. India has done it much bigger than Balakot this time, with additional proof. Today foreign envoys again have been briefed
let me bring this conversation to Kashmir, because that's where the entire thing started from. And I read General's article on domination patrols, but I would not like you to limit to that. My question is, things have changed after Pahalgam. This is going to be a new normal in Kashmir. Where does Kashmir go from Pahalgam?
If that question is to me, okay,
yes, sir.
Yes. Kartikeya, something happening as big as what happened in Pahalgam obviously sends a very strong message within Kashmir, and a full review of the security of Kashmir. In fact, I have been warning today, after all this has happened, that the infiltration season has opened up. We are in the first week of May, and this is going to go on till October, November. Northern Command had better be on complete alert at this time, because the strength of terrorists has been brought in the valley and Jammu sector down to 100, 130. Fresh recruitment is not taking place in the valley at the moment. The only way by which there can be a surge is by infiltration. So obviously the counter-infiltration effort has to be very strong, even in the face of all the violations of ceasefire which are taking place in the Odi, Tangdar or Machal sectors at the same time. At the same time, you've got the Amarnath Yatra coming up. On the 3rd of June, July, Amarnath Yatra starts. We've already had outside Kashmir, the Char Dham Yatra has started off. And Aditya very correctly said, I at the NDMA am deeply involved in the other aspect of the security, the aspect of disaster security. But being a military man, I cannot resist the fact that I need to advise also on the other physical security against terrorist attacks and things of that nature. And that is what we are regularly doing. So Kashmir had better be on a total alert. It's an unfortunate thing that a very good tourist season has been upset. But there are lots of young people in India who are telling me, and they are pushing back to say, no, we will go back to Kashmir. It doesn't matter. We will not allow the terrorists to dominate our will.
Absolutely. So you have very well summed it up, that the Northern Command better be on a very high alert, because the infiltration season has begun. But I don't think this entire operation has ended, as Aditya was also saying. We need to be prepared, and we need to be aware that Pakistan as a neighbor is not going to go away, and neither the behavior of the state will change. Thank you all of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam, for joining me on my show. So this was On Point tonight, and I'm going to pass the baton to my colleague Padmada for 8. So I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Good night.
Smashing corporate boundaries through sport. The News9 Corporate Badminton Championship 2025, in collaboration with Padma Shri Pulela Gopichand, offers corporations a unique opportunity to boost employee engagement through sport.
It's a perfect blend of fun, fitness and competition. So I invite all the corporate people out there to come to the court and showcase their passion for sports as well.
Top corporates are already in. Are you?